Well, in some more news that we're getting this morning, and this of course is a big one for the pharma sector.
That's right. In fact, pharma major Ranbaxy has been fined $500 million by the US government.
This after its US subsidiary pleaded guilty to the sale of adulterated drugs manufactured in India. It's the largest settlement by a generic medicine maker till date. The adulterated drugs were made in Ranbaxy's plants in India and were sold in the US in 2005 to 2006. Ranbaxy USA has also admitted to making false and fraudulent statements to the US Food and Drug Administration about the quality tests conducted on drugs. A former Ranbaxy employee, Dinesh Thakur, is the whistleblower in the case and will get nearly $50 million out of the fine. A big story really in the pharma sector as far as this is concerned. Ranbaxy, as we all know, is of course a huge generic drug maker, not just across the world but in India as well. And so this is of course going to be one of we'll of course have to wait and see what kind of an impact this has on India. Let's speak to Ekta Batra, the CNBC TV 18 reporter, who's joining us from Mumbai. Ekta, can you give us a sense really of what kind of an impact can we see this in India?
Thanks so much for that. Well, actually, it is definitely a positive for Ranbaxy in the long run. Just to reiterate, it's around a $500 million settlement which Ranbaxy has settled with the US FDA and the Department of Justice. So $350 million goes towards civil liabilities in terms of settlement and $150 million in terms of criminal charges or felony charges settlement with Ranbaxy. So that seems to be a bit of a negative because nobody knew that the extent of how difficult the position was with Ranbaxy and the US FDA and the Department of Justice. For example, there is a whistleblower's name, Dinesh Thakur, a Ranbaxy executive whose name has come up, and he was paid around $50 million in terms of the whistleblower act that he incurred. Now, in terms of a financial impact, analysts are not expecting too much of a financial or a P&L impact with this because the $500 million with regards to the settlement was already provided for earlier. But what is actually negative is the brand image of Ranbaxy, which is possibly destroyed a little bit because they've had pretty much reoccurring problems with the US FDA. The most recently being with Lipitor generic in 2012, where they had to recall Lipitor generic, one of their biggest drugs, from their Mohali plant because of glass particles being found. However, they have resumed production on that. So no, there is no near-term EPS impact on this, but there is a larger impact because of the brand image of Ranbaxy, which could now take a hit in the US markets even further from what it already was, simply because of the felony charges that have come up this time round. But with that, it's back to you.
Right, Ekta, it's also in fact the first time that a medicine maker is paying that huge amount of settlement in India.
Absolutely. Well, it is definitely the first time that a settlement of such a nature has actually taken place, and I don't think that there is such a big settlement with regards to felony charges that any other Indian-based pharma company has undertaken till now. So yes, it is a settlement of its own, but remember that Ranbaxy has been mired in problems since a very long time with regards to Dewas and Paonta Sahib. These problems have been going on all the way since around 2007, 2008 at least. So the fact that the $500 million and the US FDA charges as well as the US Department of Justice charges are pretty much well known with Ranbaxy and the problems that they've had. So pretty much they have moved on from that, but the fact that the felony charges come back to haunt them and the extent of the problem which has now come up with regards to the settlement details is the big negative. So yes, it is definitely a negative and an unprecedented settlement within the Indian pharma space.
Right, Ekta, we'll leave it there. Thanks for joining us with those details this morning.